All right, Shalom. First of all, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahushai, by Hashem, Rokakadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to all the brothers and the few sisters out there. On to the like foreigners from the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Shalom in the Hebrew, which means peace. And if you can't see it, the Vatican is named after the goddess of the underworld, Vatica. And that's from Hidden Conspiracies. And it said, what if the name Vatican isn't just a simple hill name, but a kind of code trace that survives centuries of reinterpretation? And what you're going to come to realization, which we all of us know now, everything that we see is nothing new under the sun. There's absolutely nothing new under the sun. Rename, repackage. That's all they have done for all these years. It says, imagine an older world, Vatica, passed down from the pre-Roman culture that may have viewed the world as divided between above and below, with the hill marking a kind of threshold, a place where messages move in both directions. And what if, instead of removing the older meaning, history simply layered over it? Sounds familiar? The original word stays, but the significance gets buried beneath the centuries of Latin religion and official explanation, which you got me thinking. Real quick, let me get this real quick. I'm just gonna have to break it down. Job 13:4, it says, "But ye are forgers of lies, ye are all physicians of no value," which we know is speaking of Esau. Then the key thing I wanted to bring out right here, forges, the Hebrew word is tapal, to smear, plaster over, stick, glue. So to smear something, that means something existed already. This is why when you read, I like to bring it out. Ezekiel 28. Ezekiel 28, about 14, straight to the point. Thou art the anointed cherub, speaking about Esau Edom, right? I have set thee. So what is a cherub? A cherub is an angel, a mighty angel, right? But anointed, so they are anointed cherub. Now the Lord has sons on the right hand and on the left hand, and the vessels for the right hand are the biblical Israelites. The vessels on the left hand is Esau. When I mean vessels, those that are on earth. This is the point. That was holy. That was upon the holy hill, or say holy mountain, sorry, of the Most High, that has walked up and down in the midst of the stones. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped it. Read it again. Thou art the anointed cherub that covereth. That's the point. So you smear something, you cover something. So things have to exist before this man can literally hijack. Okay, there's no creativity that comes out of Esau, none whatsoever. And the term Vatican, come to find out, well, not just the Vatican, but the whole church system, the Roman Catholic Church system, and all these little offshoots, except for the later down the line offshoots. But the main offshoots of the Vatican was created by Israelites. So Israel are responsible for the true biblical Israelites are responsible for a lot of things, but Esau took it and he made it as himself, like he did that. Okay, symbols, all that symbolic symbols and everything like that. That's all part of the Freemason world. That's all hidden knowledge. And all these different I remember years back, a handful of us bros went around the city, New York City, and under, I mean, I can't get mad at the dude, but under one particular bro at the time, he had a good thing going, and I was pretty much going around the city and identifying all the hidden message with, that was plainly out there. And when you do the research and you look into things, you come to realization we're surrounded by devils. We're surrounded by different deities in all forms of fashion, and it look like it's just regular artwork. Okay, so this is not surprising. So this information right here, it says, going back to this real quick, I'm gonna just finish this off, and it says, from the perspective, the real trick wouldn't be mystical but psychological. Place of a central symbol of power above a word tied to prophecy or the underworld. And that's how they kept the concept of Hades, the concept of hell. Well, the concept of hell goes way back. I mean, to the Greeks, not the Greeks. I'm saying to the Egyptians. That's why when somebody died, what was the custom for somebody's death? They would put coins in their eyes because the coins determine when they get to the other side. They have to pay some demon to take them across a river. Either you're gonna go to paradise or you're going to go into hell. Either way, so that custom that goes way back. So when Rome became the Holy Roman Empire, and they had to bring in the concept of Christianity, a lot of paganism was not erased. Now I'm one of the brothers that been around the world. I'll say that much. I've been to Rome. Now did a tour. We did a tour to this church called Saint Sebastian. I believe it's Saint Sebastian. My memory is never good, but the reason why I can remember it because it was some saint got lit up a whole bunch of arrows and he didn't die, some shit like that. So above the church is a regular standard, Christian church. And the tour guy said it the best. He said yes, but when everything was said and done, this is why you got to know history, because just because they put in Christianity, that did not mean that everybody was fully all aboard. And the only reason why Constantine did that was to clean up, and he himself was a sun god worshiper. Right, he was a Jake, but he was going off. But anyway, in the church Saint Sebastian, above is a regular church, but when you go beneath the church, you had a whole nother world. And this shit was a lot larger. I believe it was a Calicombe, let's call it whatever. And it was worshiping a whole nother guy up in there. And a lot of those saints, they say that saints, they're not saints, they're just demons, old demons that they worship. They just gave them a new spin, a new name. It's like that picture of that's supposed to be St. Peter's is really Jupiter. And Jupiter is the equivalent of Zeus. So it's right in plain sight, these different worshiping things. And then when you go to the in front of the Vatican, I didn't go to the Vatican itself, but it's like an oval shape. And it's like a pantheon of just different gods that's there. They call them saints. So right in everybody's face, they worship openly, they worship these different deities. And it so happens that each saint has a special ability and how they died and so forth. So going back to what this says from the perspective, the real trick wouldn't be mystical but psychological. Place a central symbol of power above a word tied to prophecy or the underworld, it is begins to feel like it's holds both the meaning at once, salvation and fear, heaven and depths, order and mystery. Maybe the conspiracy isn't about something hidden in plain sight, but about how old names gathering gather new meanings over time until the original story is almost impossible to separate from the myth built on top of it. Just like that church. Just like that church I made mention of. I believe it was called Saint Sebastian Church. I'm not too sure. I gotta look it up. But yeah, that's what it was buried. It covered something that wasn't fully gone away. All right, and it was huge. And you know what they was doing under that thing? They was sacrificing children. So, hey, this is why our job is to do what? To throw down. First Corinthians, no, sorry, Second Corinthians 10:5. I sorry, 5. No, I'm sorry. It's First Corinthians. No, First Corinthians 10:4. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, meaning nothing physical. We're the most peacefulest people in the world. We won't harm a fly. Nah, if the fly assault us, that's a different story. But anyway, we we won't. It's just His word by the mighty through Most High to pulling down of strongholds. And one of the main strongholds, that's the Vatican, which is a church, which we now realize that the church goes back to the underworld. Surprisingly, the same avenue that built up the whole concept of hell. Um, Also, is the false prophet that was spoken of in Revelations, the 16th chapter. Okay, and his offsprings is all these different religions that's out there. So us don't by the might of Yahweh throwing down the strongholds, casting down the imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself. Because above all, the Vatican sits above everything. All right, except for America. Babylon the Great is America. I will repeat that again. Babylon the Great is America. It's not the Roman Catholic Church. That's what the what do you call them again? Niggas with dreadlocks. The Rastafarians. That's what they believe. All right. Rome is Rome is Babylon. No, Babylon is America. Point blank. Period. It says, and I guess that the knowledge of the Most High and bringing into captivity everything, every thought to the obedience of Yahweh Shai. So it's about going back to Yahweh Shai. This is how they get everybody, and this is why people they're like, oh, something wrong with the Bible. This, they come up with this whole, not realizing the people that um, it's the people that fooled them, and the Lord didn't choose everybody. Point blank. Period. They look for contradiction, and the only contradiction is the people that claim to find contradictions, and not realize that the world that we live in, all these different avenues, all this is nothing new. It was done in the past. All right, it was done in the past. And when Yahweh Shah was on the scene with a world ignorant called Jesus, like the apostles said, like he had a small ministry anyway. And this word was not given to all nations. It was given to the nation of Israel. So y'all if you got an issue of the scriptures, you have an issue. The scriptures is nothing is made perfect. All right, but through the proper teaching of the scriptures, we throw down the strongholds of this world. Everything is connected, yo. Everything in this world is connected. And is connected old, not nothing new. Technology, even the technology of today, how different names of it looks new, but it's not. This is all repeats. Ephesians 6:10. It says, "Finding my no, I'm sorry. Let's start at 12. But we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against the spiritual wickedness in high places." And that's why I brought up, our experience going out there in the highways and the byways. Not we used to do it on Sunday, or sometimes we did it during the week. We'll go around and look at different architectural features, and we notice the same pattern. And there was always Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Celtic mythology. All right, all these different gods, Assyrians, and so forth. Oh, sorry, it's disguised in plain sight. And this is just America. So around the world, it's the same goddamn thing. The Vatican represents the sun, right? Oh, in between that oval shape is a phallus symbol, and the Dome of the Rock, which is supposed to be represent Islam, represents the breast. So you got the phallic, with the phallic is the worship of the penis, and on the other world, other side that's supposed to be the opposite religion, is nothing but worshiping um, the female body. All right, and both sides does for worship the same goddamn thing. Like I said, the Vatican outside of Vatican is this oval shape. Oval represents the female body. In the between that oval shape is a giant phallus symbol, which is representation of a penis. Why you think most Catholics worship on Sunday? Because they're sun god worshippers. All right. The symbol of Islam is the Kaaba stone, which represents Saturn. So everything is connected. It's all in plain sight. Okay, everything is connected, and it's all connected to Satan. All these nations worship Satan. So we're surrounded by wickedness in the highest levels. Period. Then you wonder why things don't work out, or things because everything is tainted. This is why the Lord is going to tear this place apart. Let me end it off on this. My favorite scripture, Daniel, I believe it's 2:46. Going straight to the point. No, 44. I started at 42. It says, and whereas that source iron mixed with miry clay, which is talking about NATO EU, which is an extension of the Roman Empire, all right, Rome, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of man, but shall not cleave one to another. That's why the EU, NATO is weak. There's always tensions, right? And it's a one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. In the days, in the days of these kings shall the Most High of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, which is talking about, Yahweh Shai. All right? His kingdom is the kingdom of heaven, and it shall never be destroyed. It says, and set, which shall never be destroyed, it shall not be left to another, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms and shall stand forever. And why is it my favorite? Because Oh, this is why. It says, for as much as thou hast sawest, the stone was cut out of the mountain, which the hands, and it brake in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, which goes back to the gold, Babylonians, silver, Medo-Persian Empire, brass, the Greeks. The leg of the statue was, which was the Romans. The toes, the iron mix, that's NATO EU. And what all these different kingdoms or empires have in common is they pass certain traditions from the other. It is rename it, repackage it, and it goes to the next one. Whoever rules is going to keep the same cycle going. But when the Lord comes back, that stone is going straight to the foot. And just like anything, if you take it, you take down a statue and you hit the foot, the whole entire thing breaks down. So that's the Lord destroying everything that remained from the previous kingdom. So just like when you go into history, when the Medo-Persian Empire took down the Babylonians, the Neo-Babylonians, they did not change their gods. They allowed the Babylonians to keep their gods. All right, and it was a mixture of Syrians and the Babylonians. And then when the Greeks came about, they already had their pantheon of different gods, which were the same gods from the other nations. So they kept the same tradition and repackaged it. Then when the Romans came about, they repackaged the same goddamn thing. And to this day, you have a whole different gods and so forth and giving credit to, but then they all fall in the category of God and Christ, which God is his title. Christ is not, is a name that doesn't exist. All right, it only exists because you keep saying it, but in history it has no meaning. It was called Jesus, Earth Pig. All right, so they have a new God. So when Yahushua comes, all that history is going to be gone with it, gone with the wind. Literally, it's going to blow away. It said, "And God," it said, "and the great power have made known to the king that shall come pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and interpretation thereof sure." In other words, it's going to happen. So we living in a time where the demise of these old, rusty, um, demonic things is being exposed and being ultimately going to be destroyed, because the Vatican is going to be wiped out. It's going to be wiped out. All right, America is going to be totally desolate, wiped out from the face of the earth, never to return. But Rome's still going to be around, but the Vatican is that's a goner, you know. And the Vatican has the largest library. The Vatican has all the history. You know, it has everything. It's going to be destroyed, but it's not going to. The land is not going to be destroyed utterly. There's only one land is going to be utterly destroyed. That's America, to never to be inhabited again. The land of Israel is going to be destroyed. We don't know exactly what all places is going to get hit, but you can almost guarantee that the places where the most idolatry takes place, worshiping other gods, is going to be destroyed. So the Lord's going to wipe all that history off the face of the earth. All that hard work, all those years don't mean shit. The Lord's going to wipe it out. So with that being said, shalom to the elect of the nations. Shalom.